Let's talk about regular polygons. In order to find the area of a regular polygon, we actually use the idea that all polygons are made up of triangles. So we're used to using this formula. The area of a triangle is 1/2 its base times its height. But what if we looked at this polygon and thought about, well, how many bases does it have? Those bases are the number of sides, hence the n base times height. But if we thought about that, hey, that base plus base plus base plus base plus base plus base, that's all the way around the shape. We're used to calling that perimeter. So we get this formula. Area equals the perimeter of an object times the height, which kind of gets a new word. We call it the apothem divided by 2. So the apothem is this distance from the center of an object to the base or to the perimeter or to a side. It's always making a right angle because it's still the height of that original triangle concept. So that's our apothem. Let's go ahead and use this idea. Area equals the perimeter times apothem divided by 2 to solve some problems. Okay, let's start with this one. It reads, for a regular pentagon. Remember, pentagon is a 5-sided object. So n equals 5. The area is 110 yards. The apothem is 5.5 yards. Find the side length in yards of the pentagon. Round your answer to the nearest whole number. Okay, so if we know that area is equal to perimeter times apothem divided by 2, and our area is 110, and we know our apothem is 5.5, we have divided by 2. Now we have an equation that we can use in order to solve for the perimeter. Now this says find a side length. So once we have that perimeter, we're going to divide by the number of sides, divide by 5, in order to get our answer. So we'll multiply each side by 2 because we're doing some divisions. The 2 will cancel here, and this will become 210. Then we need to divide by 5.5 on each side. And we have 40 is equal to our perimeter. So if that's our perimeter, then one side, we would just take that 40. We would divide by the number of sides, which in this case is 5. And we're going to get 8 for our side length. Let's look at another one. It says for a regular triangle. Okay, we know a triangle has 3 sides. The area is 73.13 meters squared, and the apothem. Now, normally we would think about the apothem as the height of a triangle, but when we think about it in an actual triangle, we got to go back to the other definition I gave you, which was from the center of the center of the shape to the exterior. So that 3.75 meters isn't the height, that is the apothem. Luckily, we still have this formula that holds true even on a triangle. Our perimeter times our apothem divided by 2. Well, our area is 73.13. Our perimeter is the thing we are going to solve for. Our apothem is 3.75. We're dividing by 2. Let's go ahead, multiply each side by 2 to start off. And that'll give us 146.26 equals 3.75 times your perimeter. Divide each side by 3.75. And that is going to give us 39.0 0.0026 repeating equals our perimeter. If this is a triangle, then we should divide that by 3, right? Which will give us, will give us a side length of approximately 13. Now let's look at this one. It says, find the area of the regular octagon. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. So we want to find area. Now we know area equals, our perimeter times our apothem divided by 2. Now in this case, we have our apothem. So we know the 6 already. What we need to find is our perimeter. So this will give us our area. Now, in order to find the perimeter, we need to find a side length. In order to do that, we need to remember that this is a right triangle. And if we know this is 6, then we can solve for this, we'll call it x, which would be a side of the triangle. We can solve using trig. Now, if I knew that this is an 8-sided shape, then I could say, hey, I have 8 of these triangles, 8 of the large triangles, or if I split it in half like I do need to here to make it match the other triangle, then I have 16 of these right triangles. Now, all the way around any circle is 360 degrees. So if I take 360 divided by the number of sides times 2, I'm going to get the measure of just one of these. We'll call it the reference angles. So that's the formula we're going to use in the future, but I wanted you to see the derivation. So 360 divided by 8 times 2. Give me a moment, it's not writing. Oh. 8 times 2 gives me 22.5. Okay, so now I'm going to just copy down this triangle because it's getting a little bit busy there. So I have x, I have 6, and I have this degree, which is 22.5 degrees. Okay, so if I look at this reference angle, then this counts as adjacent. This counts as opposite. And now I can use trig. Adjacent and opposite, that's tangent. So the tangent of 22.5 degrees is going to be equal to opposite x over adjacent 6. So solving this trig function, which I'd have to multiply because I'm dividing, is going to be equal to 6 times the tangent of 22.5. I'm going to double check I'm in degree mode, and I am. And 2.485 is going to be my x value. Okay, x value. How many of those x values do we have all the way around the shape? Remember, that's half of your side. You have 8 sides. So again, we're going to use that 16. When you multiply, because p is going to be equal to our n times 2 times x. In this case, that's going to be equal to 8 times 2 times 2.485, which is going to be equal to 39.764. And now we can finally just plug all that into our area formula and get our area. In this case, that's going to be 119.29 feet squared. Let's do that again. Okay, this shape, n is equal to 6. So if I wanted to find things out about this triangle, I would take that 360 divided by 2n, which in this case is 6. So that's going to give me 30 degrees. So I know this is 30 degrees. I'm going to solve for x. I know this is 4. So set up the exact same way because we have our opposite and our adjacent sides. The tangent of 30 degrees equals x over 4. Cross multiply, get x is equal to 2.309. Then think about how many of those we have. Perimeter equals n times 2 times x. In this case, perimeter is equal to 6 times 2 times 2.309. Which is 27.713 rounded off. So now I have my perimeter, I have my apothem, I have 2, so I know I can plug into my area formula. If area equals perimeter times apothem divided by 2, that's going to be equal to 27.713 times apothem, which is 4, divided by 2, which is going to give me the area for this figure, 55.426 inches squared. Let's look at this shape. Again, we have n equals something. N equals, in this case, 3, which means I know we would have how many of these triangles? 360 divided by 2 times n. Oops, n is 3. So that's 360 divided by 6, essentially, which is 60. Okay, so we know this is a 60-degree angle. We know our apothem is 8 millimeters. We need to solve for x. So we're going to have our tangent of 60 degrees equals opposite, which in this case is x, over adjacent, which in this case is 8. And x is equal to 13.86 rounded off. So now we can plug that into our area formula. Area equals our perimeter times our apothem over 2. So our area in this case is going to be equal to that 13.86 times our apothem, which is 8 over 2, which is going to give me an area of 55.426 millimeters squared. What if we're given this? It says we want to find both the apothem and the area. Okay, now that means I need to find this distance. Well, I can use that same trig idea. How many sides does this have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so n equals 6. Always good to know. So that means 360 divided by 2 times n. In this case, that's 6. So that means that this is a 30-degree angle. Okay, if that's a 30-degree angle. Now remember that this distance isn't all the way across the side, it's halfway across the side, so that's 7, and we're going to solve for y. Now, in relationship to our reference angle, this is still adjacent, and this is still opposite. So now we have tangent of 30 degrees is equal to opposite 7 over adjacent y. So we'd have to cross multiply to solve. 7 will be equal to tangent of 30 times y, divide each side by tangent. That'll cancel. And y is going to equal 12.12. So that's our apothem. I guess maybe I should have used a instead of y. So I'll go ahead and label that right here. My apothem is equal to 12.12. Now I can use my formula. Area equals perimeter times apothem over 2. What's the perimeter of this? Well, if this is 14, this is 14, this is 14, and all the way around is 14. So that's 14 times 6, which is 84. So I know my area is going to be equal to 84 times that 12.12 over 2. Which is 509.22. Because this was in millimeters, and this would be in millimeters squared. All right, now this one, it doesn't bother to give us a picture. It says find the apothem in centimeters and the area in square centimeters of a regular hexagon. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a little hexagon for myself right here. Remind myself that it has 6 sides. With a side length of 13. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so if it's 13, I need to take the same approach I have been. I need to think, okay, well, I'm going to take that 360, I'm going to divide it by 2n. In this case, n is 6, which will give me 30 degrees. So that means right angle 30 degrees. Now I can solve for my apothem. And if I know this whole distance is 16, then half that distance is 6.5. So tangent of 30 is equal to opposite over adjacent, so 6.5 over a. I'll do the cross multiplication in order to solve. I know I'm just going to be dividing 6.5 by the tangent of 30. That's going to give me my apothem of 11.25833, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then area, of course, I can say, well, area is equal to my perimeter times my apothem divided by 2. I now have my apothem. If I know one side is 13, then the rest are 13. So I have 13 times 6. Which gives me 78. So let's plug everything in. 78 as my perimeter. My apothem is 11.25 all over 2. Which is equal to, oops, sorry. That was odd. which is equal to 439.07 centimeters squared. That's all for today.